Ethan, I need to tell you something important. I've been thinking a lot about us and where we're headed.
If a man never cheats, never hits, and never leaves, does that mean he's a good husband? Because she still walked away. She didn't ask for much. Not really. No extravagant gifts, no grand gestures,
Ethan,
no
I was
declarations of
thinking we
love
could plan
shouted
something
across a
special
room.
this weekend.
She asked for
What
small
do you
things.
think?
Things any couple should naturally share. Attention, presence, time together. Can we eat together tonight? Can we talk for a few minutes? Can we go to bed at the same time? Every time he nodded and promised. Later, he'd say. Tomorrow, he'd say. After work, he'd say. And tomorrow never came. Ethan always thought he was a good husband. He woke at 6 a.m., made coffee just the way Clara liked it, kissed her on the forehead and left for work. He remembered every anniversary, every birthday, every little thing she mentioned months ago. He believed this was proof of his love. He was faithful. He never raised his voice. Never cheated. Never broke her trust. He was careful, responsible, and reliable. That was who he was. And in his mind that should have been enough. But he was tired. Exhausted from long days at the law firm, late nights at the office, endless meetings. By the time he walked through the door at night, all he wanted was peace. All he wanted was dinner and the quiet routine they had built together. Clara sometimes asked for more. A dinner together without phones. A conversation without distractions. A walk in the park. Small things that seemed to her vital, and to him negotiable. Not tonight, he would say. After work. Maybe this weekend. Soon. And he truly meant it. Later was a promise. Not a dismissal. He didn't see neglect. He saw survival. He believed that as long as he provided, as long as he stayed loyal, as long as he showed up in the important ways, he was doing everything right. He didn't notice how Clara's smile had started to fade. He didn't notice how her eyes lingered on him, searching for something more than the routine. He didn't notice how quiet she had grown over the months. Ethan loved her deeply. But he didn't understand that love needed more than loyalty. More than effort. More than good intentions. Sometimes when he saw her asleep on the couch, curled into a book or scrolling through her phone, he thought he was seeing peace. He was wrong. Peace was never the problem. Presence was. And that was something he had forgotten how to give. The apartment was quiet. It wasn't the comfortable quiet of a Sunday morning, or the kind that follows laughter after a shared joke. This was different. Ethan and Clara sat together on the couch, side by side, but somehow oceans apart. She scrolled through her phone. He stared at the muted news on the television. Every now and then their hands would brush and each would pull away almost instinctively. Not in anger, not in avoidance, but in a strange habit that had grown over years of postponement and later. Conversations had become shorter. Polite, necessary words that barely grazed the surface. How was your day? Good. Yours? Fine. That was it. No stories, no laughter, no shared moments. Even when they tried to talk, it was like swimming through molasses. Words that once carried meaning now sank before reaching the other person. Questions went unanswered. Observations were dismissed with a nod. Small jokes died mid-sentence. Silence became a comfortable shield against the risk of disappointment. Clara noticed it first. She realized she wasn't asking anymore. Not really. She no longer suggested going for a walk, cooking together, or spending time just the two of them. She had stopped hoping. Stopped insisting. She didn't want to bother him. She didn't want to disrupt the fragile balance of normal that they had fallen into. And Ethan noticed it too, but differently. He felt relieved. No more requests. No more small, piercing reminders that his attention wasn't enough. No more gentle hints that he had missed something she needed. He thought life had become easier. But relief he didn't yet understand was a dangerous companion. It wasn't peace, it was the first step toward losing her. One last attempt to bridge a gap that had grown wider than either of them realized. That evening, she poured them both a glass of wine and sat beside Ethan on the couch. The television was muted. The city hummed softly outside the window. She looked at him and drew a slow breath, steadying herself. Ethan, she began, her voice calm but firm. I feel invisible. He blinked as if the words were foreign. Invisible? She nodded. I know you work hard. I know you mean well. I see that every day. But I feel like I don't matter in the moments that count. I'm here and I'm just here. Ethan's chest tightened. He opened his mouth but nothing came out immediately. He wanted to reassure her, to promise change, to tell her he would do better. I'll do better, he finally said. Tomorrow. Next week. I promise. She nodded slowly, not out of satisfaction, but because she already knew. She had known for a long time that promises were just words without action. That change never arrived when it was needed most. I needed you to know, she said quietly. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for presence. For attention. For us. For the little things. Ethan reached for her hand. She allowed him, but only for a moment. He didn't pull her closer, didn't embrace her in the way she silently longed for. Instead, he let his hand linger, hoping it would be enough. It wasn't. Clara leaned back slightly, exhaling a breath she had been holding for months. She felt the weight of the unspoken years pressing down on her chest, the ache of postponed conversations, the sorrow of being present in body but absent in heart. "Thank you for listening," she whispered. Ethan swallowed, guilt clawing at him. He wanted to cry, to beg her not to leave, to fix what he hadn't noticed slipping away. But she wasn't leaving yet. Not tonight. She simply sat with him in the space that should have been filled with love, but was filled instead with absence. And for the first time they both felt it, the fragile line they were walking, the quiet tension that had been growing for years, threatening to break under the weight of postponed affection. This was her last request. And he still didn't fully understand its gravity. Clara woke before Ethan that morning. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet, though it had always been quiet in the wrong way. She moved carefully, trying not to disturb him. Not out of fear, not out of malice, but because she had learned that any sudden movement could turn small tension into sharp confrontation. And confrontation was no longer necessary. She had packed lightly. Just enough for a few weeks, maybe a month. Clothes she could live in. Shoes she actually wore. A few personal items, books she loved, and the journal where she had written all the thoughts she could never voice aloud. Nothing dramatic. Nothing symbolic. No signs of anger. No accusations. Her note to him was simple. Clear. Honest. I can't keep waiting for later. I tried. I hoped. I stayed. Now I need to find a love that sees me in the present. I hope you find her too, if that's ever possible. She left the note folded neatly on the kitchen counter, along with a single photo of them from happier days. Days when laughter came easy. Days when she felt seen. Days she almost believed he could be the man she needed. What Clara didn't know, what she would never see, was that Ethan had been planning something extraordinary for that very night. A surprise he had been working on for weeks, carefully plotting every detail. He had booked a small, private rooftop dinner at their favorite hotel overlooking the city skyline. The table was to be set with candles, white roses, and soft string lights. He had arranged for a violinist to play their song, the one that had been playing the night they first kissed. After dinner, he planned a weekend getaway to the mountains, just the two of them, to escape the routine and remind her of the love he had always carried, even if he had never shown it well. Everything he had planned, the effort, the romance, the grand gesture, was meant to pull her back. To make her feel seen, loved, and cherished. But she never knew. When Ethan woke, he noticed the absence immediately. She wasn't in bed. The coffee she always drank first was gone. The note on the counter caught his eye, folded neatly like a quiet verdict. He thought she had stepped out for a moment, maybe to grab breakfast. But as he unfolded the note, the weight of years hit him like a hammer. She wasn't angry. She hadn't stormed out. She hadn't shouted or demanded explanations. She had left with quiet precision, the kind of calm that left nothing broken, nothing obvious, nothing to fight over. And now, all his plans, all the effort he had poured into creating something unforgettable, were meaningless. The rooftop, the candles, the violin, the mountains, all of it was for a woman who was no longer there to witness it. He ran to the bedroom. Her side of the bed was empty. He called her name. No answer. He searched the apartment, but she had vanished. The irony was unbearable. Everything he had done to show her how much he loved her, the thing he had finally planned to make her feel cherished, to bridge the distance he hadn't noticed for so long, was arriving too late. Ethan sank onto the couch where she had spent so many quiet, lonely evenings. Her note lay beside him, crisp and clean, untouched except by his fingers. He read the last line over and over. I hope you find her too, if that's ever possible. And for the first time he felt it fully, the sharp, hollow pain of absence. She had left him without breaking anything. Not the furniture, not the routines, not the peace. Only his heart. Everything was in its place. Yet everything that mattered, the presence, the attention, the love, was gone. He thought of the candles on the rooftop, the violin playing their song, the mountains waiting for them. And he realized with a cold, devastating clarity, sometimes the timing of love can hurt more than its absence. By the time he became the man she needed, she was already gone. Ethan read the note again, slowly this time, as if doing so might somehow erase its meaning. I can't keep waiting for later. I tried. I hoped. I stayed. Now I need to find a love that sees me in the present. I hope you find her too, if that's ever possible. His hands shook. He couldn't breathe properly. Every later he had ever said came back to him like a punch to the gut. The months of postponed dinners, the evenings he spent buried in work, the countless small moments he thought didn't matter, they all added up to this, her absence. He called her. Phone unreachable. He tried again. And again. Nothing. He bolted from the apartment. Her favorite cafe. Empty. The park where she loved to walk on quiet afternoons. Empty. The bookstore where she had spent hours flipping through novels. Empty. He called her parents. They hadn't seen her. Her friends? Same. Each dead end felt like a nail in his chest. And then it hit him with a cruel twist. Tonight was the night he had planned everything. The rooftop dinner, white candles flickering in the night, soft string lights surrounding a table set for two. The violinist ready to play their song. The mountains waiting for them the next morning. All meticulously planned, every detail carefully chosen to make her feel seen, loved, cherished. And now, it meant nothing. Nothing. He sank to the pavement outside her apartment building, his phone clenched in his fist. He thought of her smile, the way her eyes would have lit up seeing the rooftop, the soft laugh that would have filled the violin's notes. He could almost hear it in his mind, the perfect evening that would never exist. Clara, he whispered, voice cracking. He didn't know if he was praying, begging, or just screaming into the empty city streets. He ran, drove, called again. Her number still unreachable. Her favorite places empty. Her friends and family clueless. The world seemed to mock him, calm and normal around the chaos inside him. Every step he had ever delayed, every later he had ever promised, now stood between him and her. He had tried in the past to be reasonable, to be responsible, to work hard, to provide. But none of it mattered now. He remembered the note's last line, the cruel clarity of it. I hope you find her too, if that's ever possible. The words cut deeper than anything else. For the first time he realized, love could be real, devotion could be genuine, effort could be perfect, and still timing could destroy it all. And tonight, the world's most beautiful plan, the one meant to reclaim her heart, would remain just that, a plan. Empty, useless, and heartbreakingly irreversible. He pulled out his phone again, hands trembling, and sent a message. Clara, please. Just tell me where you are. I can't fix this if I don't know. Minutes passed. Hours? He couldn't tell. His chest ached, his throat burned. He stared at the message, willing her to appear. Then finally, a reply. I love you, Ethan. His heart skipped. Relief, hope, a spark of joy. I'll think about coming. The ellipsis hung like a knife. His stomach turned. He knew her, knew what that meant. And then the cruelest words. Later. Maybe tomorrow. Ethan dropped his phone, chest heaving, tears blurring his vision. The words were simple, innocuous, polite, but they carried the weight of everything he had lost. All the moments he had postponed, all the love he had delayed, all the dinners, the walks, the evenings, the effort, it had come too late. She wasn't angry. She wasn't leaving in a rage. She wasn't even rejecting him outright. She was just living her life, quietly reclaiming her agency, while he had finally woken up to the man he should have been. He imagined her walking toward him, maybe tomorrow, maybe later, and he realized, even if she came back, it wouldn't erase the emptiness of the past years. She might forgive him, but the timing had already marked their love with a scar too deep to heal fully. Ethan sank onto the bench, staring at the empty park, at the leaves that whispered around him. He thought of the rooftop dinner he had planned, the candles, the violin, the mountains waiting for them, and now he understood. He had prepared the perfect love story for a woman who had already chosen life without him. Her final words, those 4 small words, carried both hope and despair. "I love you, Ethan. I'll think about coming later. Maybe tomorrow." He closed his eyes. The city hummed around him. Life moved on. But he stayed there, a man transformed, a man arrived too late, clutching nothing but the cruel, beautiful truth. Love, no matter how real, is meaningless if it misses its moment. And in that knowledge the story ended, not with reunion, not with redemption, but with a quiet, irreversible heartbreak that would linger for the rest of his life. Let's talk. Was Clara too harsh? After all, she could have given Ethan a second chance. But maybe she's just tired of second chances. And what about Ethan? Was he wrong to choose survival over love, over marriage, when he was doing everything else he was supposed to, except giving her the attention she needed? Do you think Clara should give him a second chance, knowing he has finally learned his lesson? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this.